My name's Judith, and let me tell you something I never thought I'd say out loud. I returned my daughter-in-law's wedding dress. Yep, the one I paid for. The one she picked out while I stood beside her, smiling like the proud mother-in-law I thought I was supposed to be. I didn't return it out of spite, not at first. But after the way she humiliated me over a pair of shoes, I realized it was the only kind of respect she'd understand. It started on a Saturday afternoon, the kind where the air feels thick with expectation. My son, Jeremy, had asked me to stop by and help them get ready for the final dress fitting. Anna, that's the daughter-in-law, had chosen some little boutique downtown where the salespeople only speak in sighs and sarcasm. I don't know what possessed me to wear my favorite blue paisley blouse that day. Maybe I just wanted to feel like myself. It's comfortable, flowy, with a little embroidered trim I added myself years ago when I still had time to sew. Anna took one look at me when I walked in and raised an eyebrow. "Oh, Judy," she said, stretching my name like taffy. "You're not wearing that, are you? I mean, we're going for timeless elegance, not yard sale chic." The salesgirl behind the counter laughed. Not loudly, but enough. I felt it in my chest. Now, I've lived through enough family dinners, PDA meetings, and passive-aggressive Christmases to know how to swallow my pride with a smile. So I chuckled lightly and said, "Well, I thought I'd let the dress be the star today." But that wasn't enough. She kept going. "Maybe we can find you something here. Something more appropriate for the ceremony. I mean, no offense, but we can't have the pictures looking dated." No offense. That phrase should be banned. It's the battle cry of the chronically rude. Jeremy said nothing, just scrolled his phone, half listening like he always does when the room gets uncomfortable. And that, maybe more than Anna's words, is what cracked something in me. My boy, my only child, didn't even flinch. They tried to hand me a beige wrap dress, the kind that looks like it came with a coupon for bulk quinoa, and told me to try it on. I declined, politely, then made my excuses. "Doctor's appointment," I said. "Routine checkup." My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking by the time I got to the parking lot. I sat in my car for 10 full minutes, watching the boutique's mirrored windows. I could see them laughing inside, silhouettes of privilege and self-importance. And I thought, why am I the one crying in a Honda Civic when I paid for that dress in there? I paid for it. Every penny. Jeremy said they were tight on cash with the new house, and Anna's parents were doing the honeymoon. So I said yes. I wanted to help. I wanted to feel needed. What a fool. That night, I poured myself a glass of red, the cheap kind that stains your lips but numbs the ache, and pulled out the receipt. Still tucked neatly in my jewelry box, right next to my mother's rosary, and a keychain Jeremy made in 4th grade that said, #OneMom. The next morning, I called the boutique. "I'd like to return a dress," I said calmly. "Yes, it was purchased last month, under Judith Bennett." They hesitated. "Ma'am, that dress was part of a bridal transaction. Is there a problem?" "Yes," I replied. "But don't worry. It's already been worn, just not by the right person." I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I simply showed up that afternoon with the dress, the receipt, and a smile so sweet it could rot teeth. They gave me store credit. Not cash, but enough to buy myself something beautiful. Something me. That's when I saw it. A midnight blue A-line number with delicate sleeves and a hem that skimmed the ankle, just so. Elegant, regal, and absolutely not yard sale chic. I took it home, hung it up beside my bedroom mirror, and looked at myself long and hard. Maybe I wasn't timeless to Anna, but I wasn't invisible either. And that was just the beginning. Jeremy didn't notice the dress was missing at first. That's the thing about sons. They rarely see what's right in front of them unless it's broken, bleeding, or blocking the TV. But Anna? Oh, she noticed. Not the same day, no. But 3 days later, my phone rang just after dinner. I was scrubbing a lasagna pan, wearing my favorite apron with the faded "Kiss the Cook" patch. When I saw Anna's name flash across the screen, I dried my hands and answered with the same voice I'd used to read bedtime stories to her husband. "Hello, Anna." Silence. Then, "Judy, we have a huge problem." I let the pause stretch. "Oh, the boutique said the dress was returned. They said you returned it." Her voice was brittle, like it might shatter if I breathed too hard. I kept my tone gentle. Yes, I did. I paid for it, after all. You had no right, she snapped. I had every right, I said, still soft, still calm. You made it clear my presence was a fashion liability. I figured my financial contribution might be too. You embarrassed me, she hissed. No, sweetheart, I said. You embarrassed yourself. I just took back what was mine. There was a long beat of silence. Then the call ended. No goodbye. No apology. I went back to my dishes. The pan still had bits of baked-on cheese stuck to the corners. I scrubbed harder. That weekend, Jeremy showed up at my house. Alone. Which, these days, was more surprising than the mail coming on time. Mom, he began, standing in the kitchen doorway. What did you do? I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Returned address. He rubbed his temples. Do you have any idea what kind of chaos that caused? The bridal shoot was canceled. Anna's been crying for days. I raised an eyebrow. She's crying over a dress. I cried because my son let his fiancée humiliate me and said nothing. His jaw clenched. It's not that simple, isn't it? I said, stepping closer. I bent over backwards for you too. Paid for the dress, smiled through insults, and tried. Lord knows I tried to be part of this new life of yours. And all I got in return was a backhanded comment about my blouse. She didn't mean it. She meant every word I said. And so did you when you stayed silent. He looked down then, like a little boy who'd been caught sneaking cookies. For a second, I saw my Jeremy again, the one who used to bring me wildflowers and tape crooked drawings on the fridge. I didn't know it bothered you that much, he mumbled. Because you didn't ask, I said, voice gentler now. You've been so busy trying to build a life with her. You forgot I was the one who gave you yours. He didn't have a response to that. Just stood there, shifting his weight like the floor might open up and swallow him. Jeremy, I said after a long pause, I love you. But I won't be disrespected in my old age. I won't be treated like an afterthought. Not by your wife, and certainly not by you. He nodded slowly, eyes glossy. I'll talk to her. I didn't ask him to. I just nodded. He left shortly after, quieter than when he came. That night, I poured myself another glass of that cheap red wine, pulled my journal from the drawer, and wrote one sentence. Respect isn't a gift, it's a boundary. And for the first time in a long time, I slept straight through the night. The next time I saw Anna, she didn't speak to me directly. It was at the bridal shower, or what was left of it. They'd scrambled to replan everything after the dress debacle, and let's just say the new version lacked a certain sparkle. Gone were the monogram napkins, the champagne tower, the live string quartet I'd helped reserve. What they had now was finger sandwiches on paper plates and a Bluetooth speaker playing 80s love songs with a tinny echo. I wasn't invited, but my sister-in-law Marlene was, and Marlene, bless her nosy little heart, insisted I come as her plus one. I dare them to turn you away, she said, looping her arm through mine like we were walking into battle. I wore the new dress, the midnight blue one, the one Anna never got to see in the boutique. The second I walked in, the chatter dropped. Not all at once, but in waves, like a stone thrown into still water. Anna stood near the mimosa station in a pale pink jumpsuit that looked like it cost more than my first car. Her smile was tight, her jaw tighter. I didn't shrink. I didn't slink. I walked over to the gift table, placed my modest envelope down, a donation to the Children's Literacy Fund, made in her name, and turned to admire the decorations. Dollar store streamers, a balloon arch that was already deflating. Anna didn't speak to me, but I caught the flicker in her eyes, the calculation, the doubt. That was enough. After an hour of polite smiles and forced laughter, I slipped out the back and drove to the park where Jeremy used to feed ducks when he was little. I sat on a bench overlooking the pond, watching the water ripple under the breeze. I thought about what it meant to be a mother, how much we give, how little we ask, and how quickly some forget. When I got home, there was a voicemail on my landline. Jeremy's voice. Mom, I don't know what to say anymore. Anna's upset. She feels like you're trying to sabotage the wedding. She says you've made this all about you. I told her that wasn't true. But, I don't know. Maybe we all just need space right now. Space. Like I was some galaxy that needed to drift farther away. I didn't call him back. Instead, I went upstairs to my sewing room, the little sunlit space at the back of the house I hadn't touched in years. It still smelled like fabric and lavender sachets. I pulled the covers off the old Singer machine, ran my fingers along its metal curves, and felt something inside me stir. I hadn't created anything in so long. Not since before Dad died. Not since before I became just Jeremy's mom. But I wasn't just that, was I? I used to design dresses for women who couldn't afford boutique labels. I used to make them feel seen, beautiful, powerful. That night, I pulled out a bolt of fabric from the closet, cream satin with tiny embroidered vines, something I'd been saving for a special project. I threaded the needle, turned on the lamp, and began to cut. Let Anna have her pink jumpsuit and paper plates. I was sewing something for myself now, something new, something bold, because if they wanted distance, I'd give them a view worth remembering. It took me 3 weeks to finish the dress. Not because I was slow, Lord knows I've made full bridal gowns in less time, but because every stitch felt like therapy, like reclaiming something I didn't realize I'd lost. I sewed late at night, when the house was quiet and the only sound was the soft whir of the machine and the rustle of fabric slipping through my hands. It wasn't just a dress. It was armor. A soft cream color with a fitted bodice and a flared skirt that brushed my ankles. Delicate vine embroidery along the hem. 3/4 sleeves with tiny satin buttons. And a neckline that said, "Yes, I'm still here and I have impeccable taste." The week before the wedding, Jeremy called again. This time, his tone was different. Hesitant. Heavy. "Mom," he said, "Anna's asked that you not walk down the aisle with me." Silence. I was standing in my kitchen, holding a wooden spoon mid-stir over a pot of stew. "She wants her father to walk her, obviously," he went on, "and she thinks it might be confusing if both moms are involved." "She thinks I'm confusing?" I asked. My voice didn't rise. It dropped. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. She's under a lot of stress." "I paid for the dress," I said. "The one she no longer has. I paid for the original venue. The one she moved because it wasn't photogenic enough. I threw her a shower before she threw me under the bus. And now I'm being asked not to exist." "She didn't say that." "She didn't have to," I cut in. I could hear him exhale, long frustrated. "Look, just come to the wedding. Sit near the front and we'll all move on. Please." I should have told him no. I should have said I wasn't coming. But instead I said, "Don't worry, honey. I'll be there." He didn't hear the edge in my voice. He never does. The morning of the wedding arrived like a polite slap in the face. The sun was bright, the sky cruelly clear. I stood in front of my bedroom mirror in the dress I'd made, my hair pinned back with the same comb I wore at my own wedding. A small, silver thing with a pearl in the center. Something old. I looked beautiful. Not young, not trendy, but beautiful in a way that made no apologies. A kind of quiet defiance that comes with being overlooked one too many times. I arrived at the venue alone. No fanfare, no escort, just a mother in a self-made gown, walking into a world that had tried to forget her. Anna's jaw dropped when she saw me, just for a moment. Then she recovered, spun on her heel, and stormed off into the bridal suite. I didn't follow. I had no apologies left in me. The ceremony was simple, pretty, bland. Jeremy looked handsome, nervous. I caught his eye once, and he gave me a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I smiled back, just enough to be polite. When the officiant asked who gives this woman, Anna's father puffed out his chest and declared, "Her mother and I do." Like a man bestowing a prized antique to a museum. And just like that, the deed was done. At the reception, they stuck me at a corner table near the restrooms. I didn't mind. I had a full view of the dance floor and the open bar, and I brought my own flask. Anna never spoke to me. Not once. But I caught her sneaking glances all night. At the dress. At me. At the people complimenting me on it. By the time the cake was cut, a woman I'd never met, one of Anna's cousins maybe, leaned over and whispered, "That dress is stunning. Where did you get it?" I smiled. "Oh, just something I whipped up." Her eyes widened. "You made that?" I nodded. Mothers of the groom have to be resourceful, especially when they're not allowed to be relevant. She blinked. I sipped my drink. That night, as I hung the dress back in my closet, I felt no regret. No sorrow. Just a deep, steady calm. I hadn't ruined anything. I had simply reminded them who I was. And believe me, they hadn't seen the last of me yet. 3 weeks after the wedding, the thank you cards arrived. Or rather, didn't. I checked the mail every afternoon like some loyal golden retriever, half expecting a note with looping script and forced gratitude. Thank you for the beautiful contribution to our special day. Or maybe even, we're so glad you were there. But the mailbox stayed silent, except for bills and junk flyers and one letter from a local charity addressed to Judith B., thanking me for the anonymous donation made in honor of a bride who forgot her roots. That one made me smile. Then came the Facebook photos. Marlene sent me the link, not because she's malicious, but because she's a gossip with no filter and too much time. Have you seen these yet? She asked with a winking emoji. I clicked. There was Anna in all her glory. Not in the dress I'd returned, of course. No, this one was a last-minute rental, a strapless thing that bunched awkwardly at the waist. The lighting in the photos was harsh, the smiles too wide, the poses a little too choreographed. And yet there she was, tagging every vendor, thanking every person, listing every blessing like it was a sponsorship post. Except one person was missing. Me. No tag. No mention. Not even a photo of us together. Like I was some wedding crasher who just happened to appear in a few background shots. And in those background shots, there I was, sitting near the restrooms, drink in hand, a half smile frozen on my face. That night, I deleted the photos from my phone. But not from my memory. No, those stay longer than anything digital. A few days later, Jeremy called. He never called on weekdays, so I knew something was off. Mom, he said slowly, and is upset again. Again? I asked, flipping through my grocery list. Did I offend the centerpiece arrangements from afar? He sighed. She found out about the store credit. From the wedding dress. And she thinks you were planning it. That you returned it as revenge. She wants an apology. I stopped cold. An apology, I repeated. Look, I'm not saying it was right, he added quickly, but maybe just smooth things over? For the family's sake. My voice stayed steady. Tell me something, Jeremy. Did she apologize for mocking my clothes? For treating me like a charity project in front of the boutique staff? Did she ever once say thank you for anything I did? Mom, please. No, I said. She didn't. And you didn't either. He didn't respond. Just that familiar silence, the kind that used to fill his teenage bedroom after he slammed the door. Here's the thing, I said, softer now. You're a grown man, married now, building your own life. I raised you to be decent, to speak up when someone was being mistreated. And you didn't. Not for me. His voice cracked a little. I didn't know what to do. You stand up for the people who stood up for you, I said. That's what you do. We hung up quietly. No resolution. Just air too thick to breathe. But something shifted that night. Because the next morning, I woke up to an email from Jeremy. No subject line. Just a paragraph. Mom, I've been thinking about everything you said. You're right. I've let things slide that I shouldn't have. I don't know how to fix it all, but I want to try. Can we talk? Just us. I didn't reply right away. I let it sit. Let him sit in the discomfort for a while. I took a walk instead. Down the block, past the little coffee shop Jeremy used to beg to visit after school. The one with the peppermint bark cookies and the mismatched mugs. I ordered a tea, sat by the window, and watched the world go by. And for the first time in a long, long while, I felt something that had eluded me for years. Not peace, not revenge, but clarity. I didn't need their approval. I just needed to stop asking for it. I agreed to meet Jeremy the following Saturday. He chose a little cafe near the park, one of those trendy spots with plants hanging from the ceiling and waiters who looked like they just rolled out of bed in artisanal denim. He stood when I walked in. Good. At least he remembered his manners. Hi, Mom, he said, and for the first time in what felt like years, his voice had a softness to it. Hi, sweetheart. We ordered him a latte, me a plain black coffee. I wasn't there for flavor. I was there for truth. We sat in silence for a minute, just the clink of mugs and the hum of conversation around us. Then he spoke. I think I messed up. I raised an eyebrow. Which part? He winced. All of it. Letting Anna talk to you like that. Not defending you. Not seeing it sooner. I didn't say anything. I wanted to see if he meant it. I think I got so wrapped up in keeping the peace, he went on. I didn't realize I was sacrificing you to do it. That landed. Harder than I expected. I sipped my coffee. You know, I said, when you were little, you used to cry if I left the room. Even if I just stepped out to check the mail. You'd wail like I'd vanished off the earth. He smiled faintly. I remember that. Well, somewhere along the way, you stopped noticing when I left the room. And then one day, you started pretending I wasn't in it. He blinked, swallowing hard. I don't want to lose you, he said. But I can't choose between you and Anna. I nodded slowly. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm asking you to set a standard for how people treat the ones who raised you. He rubbed the back of his neck, a habit from childhood. She says she wants to talk to you. Make things right. I chuckled. She wants to save face. He didn't deny it. I leaned forward. Tell her I'll meet with her. But not at your house. Not at mine. Neutral ground. And she doesn't get to come in swinging. Fair, he said. I'll talk to her. We finished our coffee in peace. When we stood to leave, he hugged me. Not a quick pat-pat kind of hug, but a real one. One I hadn't felt since before he moved out. I held on a second longer than I meant to. As I drove home, I thought about all the mothers who bite their tongues until they bleed, who smile through slights and slurs wrapped in lace and good intentions. I thought about how we're expected to give, and never ask for anything back. And then I thought about my dress, the one I'd made from scratch, the one that had reminded me who I was. When I got home, I pulled it from the closet again, smoothed the fabric, and smiled at the memory of Anna's face when she first saw it. Let her talk to me. Let her try. I wasn't showing up for a showdown. I was showing up for myself. We met at the botanical garden. Jeremy's idea. Neutral, he'd said, and public enough that no one can throw anything. Charming. It was a warm afternoon. The kind where the sun filters through the trees, just right, and every breeze feels like a small apology. I arrived 10 minutes early, took a seat on a weathered wooden bench near the koi pond, and waited. Anna arrived precisely on time, which surprised me more than it should have. She was dressed like a catalog ad for casual elegance. Pressed slacks, a blouse the color of moonlight, and heels too high for gravel paths. She spotted me, hesitated, then walked over. Judith, she said, her voice tight but controlled. Anna, I replied, folding my hands neatly in my lap. She sat, crossed her legs, and exhaled like someone preparing for a root canal. I suppose we should talk. I suppose we should, I said. Another pause. The wind rustled the leaves above us. I didn't handle things well, she began. The dress, the boutique, the shower. I didn't say a word. Just let her hang there for a minute. I was under a lot of pressure, she continued. And when I'm stressed, I can be dismissive. Is that what you call it? I asked softly, mocking me in front of a stranger, calling my clothes a joke, turning my gift into a punchline. She winced. Okay, yes, I was mean. I get it. No, I said, finally turning toward her, you don't. You don't get it, Anna. You've never had to. She blinked. What's that supposed to mean? It means you married into a family built by hands you haven't taken time to understand. You think your wedding was about color schemes and table settings, but for me, it was another reminder that I no longer had a place at the table I helped build. Anna looked away, lips pressed tight. I'm not asking for your love, I added, but I won't accept your disdain. I've earned better. She nodded slowly. Jeremy says you made your dress. I did. It was beautiful. I almost said thank you. Almost. Instead, I looked at her and asked the question that had been burning in my chest for months. Why didn't you want me there? Not really. Her voice dropped. Because I didn't know what to do with you. That stopped me cold. I've never had a mother-in-law before, she said, staring at her hands. And yours wasn't exactly the vibe I pictured. My mom's friends are polished, reserved. You're not. I raised an eyebrow. Not polished. No. You're strong. Unapologetic. You're a force, Judith. And honestly, that scared me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. A dragonfly skimmed the pond, its wings catching the light like stained glass. You could have just said that, I said eventually, instead of insulting me. I know, she said, her voice small. I'm sorry. Now, I've been called worse than a force. I've lived through worse, but hearing it from her, stripped of venom, shaded in truth, it landed differently. I won't forget what you did, I told her, but I might be willing to forgive it. Eventually, she nodded. That's more than fair. We sat in silence for a while, two women linked by one man, both learning how to exist without erasing the other. As we stood to leave, she said, I hope you'll come to the house soon. For dinner. I smiled. Just don't expect me to dress basic. Anna laughed, a real laugh this time. I wouldn't dare. And as I walked back to my car, I realized something I hadn't before. Sometimes the dress isn't just fabric. It's a flag, a declaration, and mine had been heard. Dinner was awkward, not awful, not tense, but the kind of awkward where everyone is trying a little too hard. Jeremy pulled out my chair like he hadn't forgotten my birthday last year. Anna lit candles and served chicken marsala on mismatched plates like a woman making peace through Pinterest. They were trying, and to be fair, so was I. Their new apartment was sleek, all white walls and polished concrete floors, the kind of place where you wonder if anyone actually lives there or if it's just for show. I brought over a peach cobbler, warm and wrapped in a dish towel with daisies stitched along the hem. Anna looked surprised, then genuinely pleased. This smells incredible, she said. Did you make it? No, I deadpanned. I bought it from the gas station. She blinked, then laughed. Okay, I deserve that. Jeremy grinned and mouthed, careful. We ate slowly, the clink of silverware against ceramic filling the space between strained small talk and sidelong glances. At one point, Anna excused herself to check the oven, and Jeremy leaned in. Thank you for coming. I nodded, still trying to decide if I'm staying for dessert. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. I'm really sorry, Mom, for all of it. I know, I said, softening, and I'm not angry anymore. But I've changed, Jeremy. I'm not the woman who says yes just because I love you. I don't want you to be, he replied. I just want to know you're still here. That got me, because that's what it all comes down to, isn't it? Being seen, being counted. After dinner, Anna brought out coffee, strong and black, just how I like it. I noticed she used the good mugs, not the novelty ones with cartoon pandas or weird inspirational quotes. Progress. We sat in the living room and chatted about nothing. Work, weather, a neighbor who painted their mailbox gold. And then, just as I was reaching for my purse, Anna cleared her throat. There's something I want to show you, she said. She disappeared into the bedroom and returned with a long, flat box. My heart skipped. I knew that shape, that weight. She handed it to me. I found it at the boutique, she said quietly. It had never been picked up. They held on to it, just in case. I used the last of our store credit to buy it back. I opened the lid. It was the original dress, the one I paid for, the one she tried on with her hand in mine, grinning like a girl in a fairy tale. It still had the tag attached, still shimmered like it remembered what it was meant to be. I don't expect anything, she said. I just thought maybe you should have it, as a keepsake, or maybe as a reminder that I can grow. I stared at the gown. For a moment, my throat closed up. I don't need the dress, I said, but thank you for returning what matters. Anna nodded. Respect. Exactly. She didn't cry. Neither did I. But something settled between us that night. Not friendship, not yet, but understanding. A new kind of thread. The kind that binds instead of unravels. When I left, Jeremy hugged me a little tighter. And when I got home, I hung the dress in the back of my closet behind the one I'd made. Not to forget it, but to remember how far we'd all come. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can wear is her dignity. A month passed. I didn't hear much from Jeremy or Anna after that dinner, not out of tension. But life just resumed its usual rhythm. And in a way, I was grateful. I didn't need a parade or weekly brunches to know the air between us had cleared. What I needed was space to breathe as my own woman again. And breathe I did. I joined a quilting circle at the local community center, not because I needed help stitching. Lord knows I could outsew most of them with my eyes closed, but because I needed women. Real women. Women with crooked hands and sharp opinions, with stories they weren't afraid to tell. We laughed. We stitched. We cried into our thermoses of spike cider when someone mentioned their daughter who'd moved across the country and only texted on Christmas. It felt good to belong somewhere that didn't ask me to shrink. One day after quilting, I got a knock at the door. It was Anna, standing on my front step in a gray wool coat and flats, holding something wrapped in brown paper. Her face was softer this time, not the polished porcelain I remembered from bridal showers, but human, nervous, humble. "Hi," she said. "I know it's weird, me just showing up." I stepped aside. "Depends what you're bringing." She held out the bundle. "It's not fancy, but it's honest." Inside was a sketchbook, thick, spiral-bound, pages filled with pencil drawings, dresses, blouses, a few rough shoe designs. "I used to draw all the time," she said, eyes on the floor. "In high school, I wanted to go into design, but my parents thought it was too impractical." I flipped through the pages. Her lines were good, raw but bold. A girl's heart in graphite. "I've been sketching again," she continued. "Because of you. Watching you make that dress, it reminded me of something I'd lost. I thought maybe if you ever wanted, we could work on something. Together." I sat down at the kitchen table and laid the sketchbook flat between us. "Anna," I said, "you just gave me the best apology money can't buy." She smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. That afternoon we sat there, sipping tea, paper between us like a treaty of peace stitched in dreams. I gave her tips on seams and darts. She showed me how to scan designs and share them online. Apparently Pinterest is still a thing. Who knew? We didn't solve every difference. We didn't become best friends overnight, but we began something. A pattern, a rhythm, a mutual respect. Later, as she packed up to leave, she looked at me and said, "You're not what I expected from a mother-in-law." "Good," I said. "Neither are you." And as I closed the door behind her, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt whole. Maybe that's what winning looks like when you're not keeping score. 3 months later, we launched it. A tiny online shop with a name Anna came up with, Threaded Grace. She said it was a nod to both of us. Her modern style, my old world stubbornness, and the grace we'd somehow found in between. We didn't expect much. A few downloads, maybe a friend or two sharing it out of pity. But then a blogger picked it up, one of those fashion types with a cult following and a talent for finding hidden gems run by women over 50. Suddenly, orders started to trickle in. Then pour. Anna handled the branding, the website, the marketing jargon I never understood. I handled the designs, the patterns, the stitching guides. We argued, we laughed, we redesigned a linen jumpsuit 4 times until it didn't make everyone look like a scarecrow. And every time I thought I couldn't work with her another day, she'd do something small, like bring over scones from the bakery I liked or use one of my old button styles without telling me, and I'd remember how far we'd come. Jeremy? He watched from the sidelines with the dazed expression of a man who just realized the 2 most unpredictable women in his life had become business partners. "You two scare me," he said once. "Good," we answered in unison. Our shop grew slowly, then steadily. We didn't make a fortune, not yet, but it wasn't about that. It was about creating something that couldn't be taken back. Something that belonged to us both, stitched not from perfection, but from patience and persistence. One afternoon, I hosted a small pop-up booth at the Spring Arts Fair. Anna stood beside me, arranging handmade cards and fabric swatches with surprising care. A woman walked by, paused, then doubled back. "I love your stuff," she said, thumbing through our rack. "It's elegant but real. And that dress," she pointed to the mannequin in the front, "is to die for." "That one's hers," Anna said, nudging me. The woman looked impressed. "Did you make it?" I smiled. "Yes, ma'am. Every stitch." The woman bought the dress. Full price. Didn't blink. As we wrapped it up, Anna leaned over and whispered, "I never did thank you." "For the dress? Or the return?" I raised an eyebrow. "You mean the one I yanked back from the jaws of bridal hell?" She laughed. "Exactly that one. You're welcome. We stood there, shoulder to shoulder, watching people pass. For a moment, it felt like the world had tilted just slightly in our favor. Like all the tiny humiliations and long nights and awkward dinners had been leading to this. Not a grand reconciliation, but a quiet truth. I didn't return the wedding dress to hurt her. I did it to remind her and myself of value, of worth, of the simple truth that love without respect is just performance. Now, when people ask how I got started in online retail, I don't tell them about the wedding or the boutique or the peach cobbler. I just say it began with a dress and a woman who stopped being quiet. Because at the end of the day, that's who I became. Not the villain, not the victim, but the seamstress of my own damn story.